In this video, we're going to have a look at how to sketch a linear line on a Cartesian plane using the gradient intercepts method. So to use the gradient intercepts method, the first step is to identify the gradient in the y-intercept. Now this can be done from the rule, where I determine c is equal to the value and m is equal to a value. Or if I need to, I can find the y-intercept by determining when x is equal to 0, what does y equal to? So once I've found the value of the gradient and the y-intercept, my next step is to sketch the graph. Now this is done by starting off by marking the y-intercept onto the Cartesian plane and then applying the gradient. So remember, the gradient is as x is increased by 1, y is increased or decreased by what the gradient is. So I can do that to mark a second point. Once I've marked that second dot, I can sketch the line through those two dots to form a straight line and then finish off by labeling that line with the rule from the question. So let's have a look at an example. In this example, I want to sketch the rule y equals 2x plus 3 onto the Cartesian plane using the gradient in intercept method. Now the first step is to determine what is my gradient equal to and what is my y-intercept equal to. Now I can do that using the rule in the question and applying the general rule of y equals mx plus c to determine my values. So using the rule, I know that m is equal to 2 and c is equal to positive 3. So now that I have got my gradient and my y-intercept, I can proceed to graph that onto the Cartesian plane. Now the first step is going to be to mark the y-intercept of 3 onto the y-axis, and I do that by putting a dot on the 3 value. Now the next step is to go ahead and apply the gradient to make a second dot. So my gradient of 2 means that as x increases by 1, y is going to increase by 2. So I can apply that. So from starting at my y-intercept, when x increases by 1, y increases by 2. And then I can place my second dot on the graph there. Now if I wanted to, I could join those two dots with a straight line. Alternatively, I can go ahead and place another dot using the same methodology. So as x increases by 1, y is going to increase by 2. Then I can place a third dot. Once I've got a few dots marked, I can go ahead and join them to form a straight line. So once I've got my straight line drawn, I label it with the rule from the question, y equals 2x plus 3. And that's an example of how I can draw a linear line using the gradient intercepts method on a Cartesian plane.